An indie game? Bombing? But I thought indie games were gonna save gaming. Oh, I forgot. Gaming isn't dying, so it doesn't need saving. This is why you never trust Redditors. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'd rather be playing Silksong over this, because at least the gameplay is somewhat interesting. An indie game that kind of deserves to be praised, even if I think it's overrated in every sense of the word. You would think in a time when games are bombing left and right, due to the annoyingly forced leftist ideology being pushed, this game never would have seen the light of day. But no, instead they decided to waste their time making this, potentially bankrupting their studio. Sedlio, a team of 15 ex-AAA developers, decided to come together and make garbage, as if we didn't already have enough of that to begin with. This review is going to be a little different than my other reviews. It's going to be more along the lines of, say, a lesson on why women don't deserve rights. While I'm no history nerd, I'm going to do my best to explain what's wrong with this game, and honestly this game is so boring that reviewing it normally just doesn't feel right. So without further ado, I present 1348 Ex Voto. 1348 Ex Voto takes place in 14th century medieval Italy. I don't think I need to explain the year the story takes place. Aita, the protagonist, is shown to be a knight, and you start the game with her displaying her talent with the sword, even stating that her father taught her the ways of the sword and attempted to keep it a secret from her mother.
Yet I still hear my father's voice instructing me from the shadow of that tree, pointing out my grip, my posture.
What would your mother have said?
That we do what we must, and that I have a duty as my birthright.
And your father?
To raise my sword, and to keep fighting. And to not tell my mother.
Immediately I shook my head in disbelief. This is 1348 medieval Italy. And the country the story takes place in doesn't even matter, just the time period itself. It's 1348. Women were not being taught the ways of the sword, let alone allowed to be knights. Most women weren't even taught to read and write. Only 20% of noble women even knew how to read and write, but for some reason Sedlio expects people to believe women were knights. Yeah, I'm not buying it. This is just an ignorant attempt at rewriting history. Medieval times were not as progressive as they are now. Believe it or not, women were not seen as equals to men. Her most notable feature is her short, bold haircut, and once again, this is 100% intentional to make her as unattractive as possible to reduce the male gaze, because leftists think beauty is ugly. And during the time, knights would often cut their hair short so it could fit under their helmets, as well as for less interference during battles. And what do you know, she has short hair. Crazy. I'm starting to think this is a schizophrenic woman who thinks she's a knight and goes around murdering men who tell her to wear a dress. Anyways, Aita is practicing and her friend Bianca is watching nearby a tree. And then she picks up a sword and asks to duel Aita. Was it really that easy for women to just get a sword? I'm sure there is some form of discrimination against women stepping onto the battlefield. It's almost like men were trying to protect them from harm. Noble or not, it was seen as unfeminine for a woman. And of course, I'm not saying female warriors never existed throughout history. I'm sure they do. I just find it extremely unlikely, especially during medieval times. Shortly after Bianca leaves, the bells from the village close by ring as it's being attacked by bandits. Aita, being a Mary Sue, clears out the village full of bandits that are all men with no issue. And once again, my immersion is destroyed. No matter how skilled a woman is with the sword, you aren't beating a man in a sword fight. Bandit or trained knight, it just ain't happening. Just sheer strength alone is enough. Why are feminists so desperate to prove they're better than men? Men are stronger than women, it's not a debate. If this game were actually trying to be realistic, she would have lost her fight and probably been beaten, raped, and forced into slavery. That unironically would be better than what actually happens. She arrives at what looks to be the town square and makes an ex voto to Bianca. And for those who don't know, an ex voto is a religious vow. The woman who is a cross-dressing lesbian going against God is praying to God. They never specify which God, but I mean, she's a lesbian, so it's safe to say it's Satan. Jokes aside, medieval Italy was a very religious country, and Christianity was basically enforced. Aita was practically impersonating a knight as a woman, and on top of all of that, she's gay. The Catholic Church dominated the religious landscape, considered sodomy a mortal sin and a crime against nature. By the 11th century, sodomy was increasingly viewed as a serious moral crime and punishable by mutilation or death. Her punishment, without a doubt in my mind, would have been harsh. Why is it seen as normal now, when it was so heavily condemned? Really makes you wonder. Aita arrives at the castle and it is clearly vacant. She enters and is greeted by an old man. I don't even think his name is mentioned, but doing a bit of research or just taking a look at the art book, we can see his name is Il Signor. I think I said that right. Which in English just translates to Sir. He doesn't even have a real name. Lord of a once prosperous feud, he inherited the castle from his father but proved to be a poor ruler. Once the plague hit his lands, his bad decision making shortly led his feud to chaos. Famine ensued and the guards who were no longer paid abandoned both him and the village. The peasants, having to fight disease and hunger, were forced to become bandits. I had to go out of my way to find this. How does a side character who isn't even that important to the plot seem more interesting than the main character? This game really did deserve its failure. Senor makes a deal with her to take out what he calls the betrayers. In return, she gets the location of where Bianca is being held captive, and so she sets out on another journey once more, encountering Il Brigante, the bandit leader. She defeats him, of course, even though he's a man, and proceeds to scold him on how what he's doing is wrong and how he should stop and make an honest living.
I'm found wanting then. Strike. But make it clean.
I have fulfilled my oath. Defeat their leader and end the threat they pose. Do you and your men still pose a threat?
What words or assurance can I give that you would trust?
I seek word of a young postulant. She was kidnapped from my town by your men.
Not my men. They were once the Lord's guards. A violent lot. They stayed in our camp for a time before heading south. It must have been they that raided your town. 2 weeks passed. They were seen again, heading north with spoils. I did not see a postulant with them, but they took prisoners, and your charge is with them. I know not where they headed.
Innocence depend on you. So I will spare your life. But heed my words. You and your men have a choice. To make an honest living.
This is stupid for so many reasons. The first one being an obvious humiliation ritual. The man is spared by the master swordswoman. That's totally believable. And really, he should be dead with his wounds. How do you even expect someone to make an honest living when there's a plague causing people to drop dead? So everyone's living in fear and afraid of even coming outside. And if that wasn't stupid enough, these people dared to try and make him akin to Robin Hood. Is he even giving back to the poor people? You never see him do any of these supposed good deeds. And who is it he's stealing from? Normal people trying to make ends meet. Not the rich, regular people. Some Robin Hood he is. She leaves, and as she's walking, notices a white-robed man. He assumes she's an enemy and faces off against her until, realizing she's not a demon, just an ugly woman. He introduces himself as Nesino Nobody, a servant of God. It's pretty clear what the devs were doing here. I don't know if any atheists worked on this game, but I'm just gonna conclude that none of the devs believe in God. Trying their hardest to make the religious man seem crazy and delusional, he offers to aid her and she declines because she's a woman. I'm so sick of the constant bashing of Christianity. Every other religion is allowed to exist. You can't mock and belittle people for believing in their satanic religion, but when it comes to Christianity, feel free to say whatever you want. Why respect the Christians' beliefs? And for all the retards that will no doubt say he isn't meant to be a Christian, he literally mentions Eve, who was in the Bible. But I don't expect anyone who still defends Israel to know that.
All women are stubborn and in need of much guidance. The sin of Eve makes all her daughters weak to temptation.
You reach the villa and are besieged by many foes. It doesn't matter because she has lesbian powers and wins. Aita is rewarded for her sins and comes face to face with Bianca. Instead of breaking her free, Bianca convinces Aita to come back during nightfall. One of many stupid moments in this game. You do so and she is no longer there, and learn from a prisoner that she was taken by a group of evil Christian cultist clansmen. I hate this game so much. Once again, fight off the cultists and challenge Nesino to a fight. And just before you begin, he throws a torch which ignites a fire right below where Bianca is tied up. You fight Nesino and win because you're a strong woman. Mary Sue, no, she has plenty of flaws, like being gay. Aita saves Bianca from the flames and loses consciousness after hitting the ground, and wakes long enough to see Bianca being pulled away from her. Then we get a time skip, I think, and talk to some random old man who saves her. I don't know where he came from, and she makes off again to rescue her one and only. The princess is going to save the princess. What a heartwarming story to tell children. You fight through a vineyard, and I don't even know why guards would be here. Assuming these are ex-soldiers turned bandits, they could be defending the vineyard from outsiders trying to steal from it, or they could be actual guards, but that doesn't really make sense either. Who is commanding them? This game makes no sense. They explain nothing in this game. I just have to figure everything out on my own. El Senor is the only lord shown, but I don't think those are his men. I had to beat the bandit leader. Who are they? The story shouldn't even exist because it's so hard to follow. And once again, looking through the art book, which I shouldn't need to look through an art book to find information. Apparently these armored soldiers are just mercenaries, which are basically, they're just bandits basically. They're more bandits, because I guess they used to work for El Senor, and they just decided to keep their armor and just be bandits. But no one knows they're bandits because they're still wearing armor. This game's so stupid. It's so dumb. It literally says that they go raiding towns and villages, but they're mercenaries. I don't think that's how a mercenary works. They're literally just bandits. But moving on from that, Aita destroys the trebuchet that's firing at nothing and arrives at the castle. She slays all the enemies who are guarding nothing. It's empty. I know there's a plague going around, but literally no one. After curb stomping all the men, Aita and Bianca have one final serious talk about something retarded. I don't know. I stopped paying attention. The two lesbians fight, and Aita overpowers her, leaving Bianca on the ground, pleading for a helping hand, similar to the start of the game. And this time she doesn't fall for her trick and decides to be straight, killing Bianca off screen just like a real lesbian relationship. Roll credits. I'm surprised there is no lesbian sex scene. No one in their right mind would call this a good game. These people will never learn until their studio shuts down for good. And even then they'll just get rehired somewhere else and bankrupt the next one they join. Do they think if they force their ideology onto us, we'll all suddenly become pedophiles like them? I'm hoping no, but I know how they think. Unlike Wolfenstein, this game has absolutely nothing redeeming about it. This game has the worst combat I've experienced in a video game in my life. It doesn't make me happy to say that. So many developers now are so stuck on making something they believe in instead of a fun experience for the player. The combat is genuinely awful. You move like a snail and every single enemy blocks all of your attacks, and you have to break their guard. And once their guard is broken, you have to hurry up and finish them off, or else you're gonna have to break their guard again. It's terrible, and enemies have too much defense and too much health. Once you upgrade your abilities, it becomes less of a headache, but it's still horrible. I believe this was done to draw out the game, because this game could be finished in like an hour if you're using mods, which I did towards the end of the game because I was fed up with this garbage dumpster fire gameplay, if you even want to call it that. The mods actually made the game a lot more enjoyable, and I'm almost certain enemies weren't meant to be damage blocking sponges. They just realized people would be done with the game way too quickly, so they thought, let's make the gameplay as torture inducing as possible. And when you aren't fighting walls, you're just walking around and doing brain dead puzzles. The story is even more retarded. Your whole goal is to save your lover. This could have been a decent story if you were playing as a man, and Bianca wasn't a roasty and the writing was actually good. It feels like a 14-year-old who was groomed into being trans wrote this plot. Nothing makes sense, and it feels like they cut things out of the game. and it becomes especially obvious during Aita's final encounter with Bianca. Loading in the cutscenes looks abnormal, it transitions poorly from gameplay, the UI is god-awful, look how bland it is. Every man except El Senor and a random knight calls Aita a boy when she's obviously a dyke.
Murderer! You'll pay for that!
The game ran okay, I guess, for the most part. It stuttered every once in a while, but it was still playable. And I don't know if this is necessarily a good thing or not, but the world feels empty. And I say this because the game takes place during the Black Plague, so making the world feel dead kind of works, but what doesn't work is making the environment bright and colorful. It doesn't feel like a catastrophe is taking place. They should have lowered the saturation. It's pretty clear they weren't trying to make a good game. And do not get your hopes up as if this game bombing means something. It doesn't. There's just gonna be another game just like it. Sedlio shot itself in the foot, so to generate hype for a game no one cares about, they claimed 250,000 people wishlisted it. If this were actually true, then why are the Steam numbers so low? Nobody should play this. Let it be forgotten. They will never learn. None of the men in this game have real names, only the women. And the character designs are so stupid and bad that I literally got confused. With the bandits in the beginning of the game are literally wearing the armor of the so-called mercenaries that you fight later on. But apparently those are just bandits. This game makes no sense. They try and make it seem like Bianca betrayed Aita, but they never explain it. They don't explain anything. And I guess she somehow becomes their leader or something. I really don't know, because none of this makes any sense. Nothing is explained. There's obviously been stuff cut from this game. I feel like I missed a lot. I feel like there's so much stuff I missed. I'm literally recording this as I thought I was finished with this, but no, I'm not. There's still stuff that I didn't even get to talk about because I didn't even realize it. Nessino's name literally means nobody. The old man that you meet, his name is literally old. Old. His name is old, dude. I already talked about the Lord. El Signore, his name is literally the Lord. Like, what is this? Like, they care so little about the men in this game that they don't even have the respect to give them actual names because they don't care about them. I guess they just aren't important enough to give them names. And then Bianca just becomes evil out of nowhere at the end of the game. Just out of nowhere, she's just evil now. This game really deserves the bomb. Do not play this.